So one of us needs to test that.
Oh, it's your nerve, man.
Yeah, I'll keep the comments thing on actually.
Okay.
Just need to test if I'm hearable. Just need to test if perfect. Oh, cool. Alright, there you go, there's your controller. Okay, so we've got a selection of books today. Oh, make sure you start a new game, by the way. Make sure you start a new game. Oh, right, yeah. Right. You might want to have both of them in. Okay. So. Yeah, that was creepy. So, hello everybody. My name is Dom, as you probably already know. My lovely assistant here, Lauren. She's actually playing the game for once. Because well, we need some background gameplay. The problem is with when it comes to reading is I don't want to just do hour-long clips. And they're very hard to string together, and I have to use a third-party application like Premiere or something to.
I'm still getting distracted.
Yo, how am I not? How can I not get distracted? There's a cat twerking. The fuck's going on in my back garden? Well, you heard that sound, didn't you? I sound like a werecat. You know what I want. I'll give you what you want in a minute, but we have a selection of books actually from the H.P. Lovecraft collection, which Dylan, I'll let you choose. Your options are Macabre Stories, a collection of short tales. The Randolph Carter Tales, another collection of short tales. Stories of the Dreamlands. At the Mountains of Madness and other stories. The Dunwich Horror and other stories. And The Call of Cthulhu and other stories. Which one do you want me to read? Which one do you want me to read, Dylan? I'll let you choose today's book. That doesn't give me an answer. What book am I reading today? If you don't give me an answer, I'm just going to pick for you. Ah, Call of Cthulhu it is then. I'm such a cunt. What's got new book smell? I'll actually read the Call of Cthulhu story, which is page 188. The Call of Cthulhu. Found among the papers of the late Francis Wayland Thurston of Boston. Of such great powers or beings there may be conceivably a survival. Is my voice annoying? Do you want to swap places? Do you want to sit in the comfy chair? Woman, do you want to sit in the comfy chair? I hate reading, I'm dyslexic, how dare you. That's so fucking ironic. What are you trying to figure out? Look there. Try pressing X? Well, no, when the hand appears fully. There you go. Yeah, but the hand has to be fully there. Maybe turn around? There's got to be a key somewhere.
Okay,
Anyway. Of such great powers of beings, there may be conceivably a survival of a hugely remote period when consciousness was manifested. Perhaps in shapes and forms long since withdrawn before the tide of advancing humanity. Forms of which poetry and legend alone have caught a flying memory, and called them gods, monsters, mythical beings of all sorts and kinds. Algernon Blackwood. Chapter 1. A Horroring Play. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piercing together... I've already read, sorry, wrong, it's piecing. Fucking hell. I'm blind. Yeah, having fun. Actually, one of these is called The Nameless City, so I think if I ever read that one out, we should play The Sinking City. Actually, I might let you read out one of the stories one day. Maybe.
read out loud since secondary school.
Read the first word.
What, that?
Yeah.
The Cult of Cthulhu.
There you go. You've read out loud. I'm such a cunt. I'm so lucky you love me. Okay. But someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality, and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. Theosophists? That's a very complex word. Have guessed at the awesome grandeur of the cosmic cycle wherein our world and the human race form transient incidents. Where the fuck did you get a lamp?
What a putrid offering.
I'm intrigued. You're also intrigued, aren't you? Oh, is it me speaking? Is that bothering you?
No.
No, I mean directly in your ears right after I said it, like, you know, it's a feedback loop. Run.
Everything has already been written. But perhaps you will attempt to change your destiny.
What the fuck? I hate whiskey. That's how this game starts. Oh man.
Married woman runs off with her girlfriend. Understandable. Natural sciences, linguistics, archaeology.
We're in our world and human race from transient incidents. They have hinted at strange survivals in terms of which would freeze the blood if not masked by a bland optimism. But it is not from them that there came the single glimpse of forbidden eons which chills me when I think of it and maddens me when I dream of it. That glimpse, like all dread glimpses of truth, flashed out from accidental piecing together of separated things. In this case, an old newspaper item. What's up?
Nothing.
An
Oh,
old...
wait, wait.
The phone is ringing, son.
I'm listening.
Are you Edward here? Private investigator contracted by the Wentworth Detective Agency?
That's correct.
Hello, Mr. Pierce. I'm Lucy Sherifield, in charge of investigators over at Wentworth.
Sounds like a bitch.
A fire has destroyed some of our documents.
Okay, fuck it.
Is that right?
I'm so very sorry, but I have to collect your personal information yet again.
Here we go. In this case, an old newspaper item in the notes of a dead professor. I hope that no one else will accomplish this piecing out. Certainly, if I live, I shall never knowingly supply a link in so hideous a shame. I think that the professor too intended to keep silent regarding the part he knew, and that he would have destroyed his notes had not sudden death seized him. My knowledge of the thing began in the winter of 1926 or 7, with the death of my great uncle, George Gamble Angle, Professor Emeritus of the Semitic Languages at Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island. Professor Angle was widely known as an authority on ancient inscriptions, and frequently had been resorted to by the heads of prominent museums, so that his passing at the age of 92 may be recalled by many. Locally, interest was intensified by the obscurity of the cause of death. The professor had been stricken whilst returning from the Newport boat, falling suddenly. As witnesses said, after having been jostled by a nautical-looking... I can't say that word because it's 2022.
Oh,
It's not a bad one, but I still don't feel comfortable saying it.
oh,
Yeah. I think that's the Spanish word for black, isn't it? It's the Spanish word for black people. No, not black people, but it's you people. Oh God, I'm thinking.
Whom I hold in high esteem, and I must say that I expected anything but a drunkard's lair.
Who had come from one of those queer, dark courts on the prosperous hillside, which formed a shortcut from the waterfront to the deceased's home in William Street. Physicians were unable to find any visible disorder, but concluded after perplexed debate that some obscure lesion of the heart, induced by the brisk ascent of so steep a hill by so elderly a man, was responsible for the end. At the time, I saw no reason to dissent from this dictum, but latterly I am inclined to wonder, and more than wonder. As my granduncle's heir and executor, for he died a childless widower, I was expected to go over his papers with some thoroughness, and for that purpose moved the entire set of files and boxes to my quarters in Boston. Much of the material which I correlated would be later published by the American Archaeological Society, but there was one box which I found exceedingly puzzling, and which I felt averse from showing to other eyes. It had been locked, and I did not find the key till it occurred me to examine the personal ring which the professor carried always in his pocket. Then indeed I succeeded in opening it, but when I did so, seemed only to be confronted by a greater and more closely locked barrier. For what could be the meaning of the queer clay bas relief, and the disjointed jottings, ramblings, and cuttings which I found? Had my uncle in his latter years become credulous of the most superficial impostures? I resolved to search out the eccentric sculptor responsible for this apparent disturbance of an old man's peace of mind.
I placed a file on your desk. It contains everything I have on the affair.
The bas relief is a rough reticle, less than an inch thick and about 5 by 6 inches in area, obviously of modern origin. Its designs, however, were far from modern in atmosphere and suggestion, for although the vagaries of Cubism and Futurism are many and wild, they do not often reproduce that cryptic regularity which lurks in prehistoric writing. And writing of some kind, the bulk of these designs seems certainly to be. Though my memory, despite much familiarity, fucking pronounce that word.
Familiarity.
Thank you. Familiarity. How come you can say it and I can't?
Because you have start off with them.
That is true. Familiarity?
Closer.
Thank you. Familiarity. Yeah, I'm not even going to keep trying. With the papers and collections of my uncle failed in any way to identify this particular species, or even to hint at its remotest affiliations. Above these apparent hieroglyphics was a figure of evidently pictorial intent, although its impressionistic execution forbade a very clear idea of its nature. It seemed to be a sort of monster, or symbol representing a monster, of a form which only a diseased fancy could conceive. If I say that my somewhat extravagant imagination yielded simultaneous pictures of an octopus, a dragon, and a human caricature, I should not be unfaithful to the spirit of the thing. A pulpy, tentacled head surmounted a grotesque and scaly body with rudimentary wings. But it was the general outline of the whole which made it shocking and frightful. Behind the figure was a vague suggestion of a cyclopean architectural background.
I believe there is more to this case than just an accident.
The writing accompanying this oddity was, aside from a stack of press cuttings, in Professor Angle's most recent hand, and made no pretense to literary style. What seemed to be the main document was headed Cthulhu Cult.
Sarah lived there with her son and her husband.
I suppose you want to
Cthulhu Cult. In characters painstakingly printed to avoid the erroneous reading of a word so unheard of. The manuscript was divided into 2 sections, the first of which was headed 1925 Dream and Dream Work of H.A. Wilcox, 7 Thomas State Providence, R.I. And the second, Narrative of Inspector John R. LaGrasse, 121 Benville Street, New Orleans, L.A. at 1908 AA SMTG. I don't know what SMTG means, or any of those fucking letters.
You must tell me if what the police suggest about the mental state of your daughter is true.
On the same, and Professor Webb's act. Hey! That's my name! Webb! It says Webb there. Look. I'm very proud.
Sarah had visions. Everyone knew that. She never would have heard a fly. She only thought she saw things.
Saw?
The other manuscript papers were all brief notes. Some of them accounts of the queer dreams of different persons, some of them citations from Theosophical? I still can't pronounce that word, man. Books and magazines, notably W. Scott Eliot's Atlantis and the Lost Lemura.
And you think your daughter
Edward Pierce. I'm trying to see if this guy's name comes up in this story at all. Edward Pierce. Or Stephen Webster. The cuttings largely alluded to auteur mental illnesses and outbreaks of group folly or mania in the spring of 1925. The first of the principal manuscript told a very peculiar tale. It appears that on March 1st, 1925, a thin, dark young man of
Your only clue
That is neurotic, yeah. An excited aspect had called upon Professor Angle bearing this singular clay bas-relief,
And the rumors about her supposed
which
father.
was then exceedingly damp and fresh. His card bore the name of Henry Anthony Wilcox, and my uncle had recognised him as the younger son of an excellent family slightly known to him, who had latterly been studying sculpture at the Rhode Island School of Design and living alone at the Fleur de Lis building near that institution. Wilcox was a precious youth of known genius, but great
It's not like I have a choice.
eccentricity?
Dark water.
It's hard with the letter C, isn't it? Because the letter C can sometimes be the S.
I'll no doubt find some information.
Or it could also, it's sort of like a C can be an S or a K or it's very confusing. It's like mice. It's spelled
Be
M-I-C-E.
an avid reader. The Wentworth Agency doesn't attract top-notch cases.
Laura's picking up the book.
I'll start looking at these.
Do you think I think one day I'm gonna get cancelled for reading a H.P. Lovecraft book because he's a notorious racist?
To be honest, that they're very world famous stories.
Yeah, but think I'm gonna be cancelled for reading it out because he's racist.
I think I'll be fine though.
Famous last words. That's what PewDiePie said on that bridge, and you know what happened to him? He wasn't fine.
You were fine at all.
Eccentricity, and had from childhood excited attention through the strange stories and odd dreams he was in the habit of relating. He called himself psychically hypersensitive, but the staid folk of the ancient commercial city dismissed him as merely queer, never mingling much with his kind. He had dropped gradually from social visibility and now was known only to a small group of aesthetics from other towns. Even the Providence Art Club, anxious to preserve its conservatism, had found him quite hopeless. On the occasion of the visit, ran the professor's manuscript, the sculptor abruptly asked for the benefit of his host's archaeological knowledge in identifying the hieroglyphics on the bas-relief. He spoke in a dreamy, stilted manner which suggested pose and alienated sympathy, and my uncle showed some sharpness in replying, for the conspicuous freshness of the tablet implied kinship with anything but archaeology. Young Wilcox's rejoinder, which impressed my uncle enough to make him recall and record it verbatim, was of a fantastically poetic cast which must have typified his whole conversation, and which I have since found highly characteristic of him. He said, "It's new indeed, for I made it last night in a dream of strange cities, and dreams are older than brooding tire, or the It's contemplate, but then it's got if at the end. That's what it is. Someone's watching me just butcher the English language right now. The contemplative Sphinx, or the garden-girdled Babylon. It was then that he began the rambling tale which suddenly played upon a sleeping memory and won the fevered interest of my uncle. There had been a slight earthquake tremor in the night before, and the most considerable felt in New England for some years. Billy Barnes, thank you, Billy. Welcome to this audiobook while we're playing Call of Cthulhu. Well, Laura's playing Call of Cthulhu. She's calling Cthulhu. She's asking for a booty call. Ayo, tentacle man.
Stay on board. There's guys coming to unload. Welcome to Darkwater Island, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you.
Right, let's continue.
So, what wind brought you?
Does the Hawkins case mean anything to you?
The most considerable threat in New England for some years, and Wilcox's imagination had been keenly affected. Upon retiring, he had an unprecedented dream of great cyclopean cities of titan blocks and sky-flung monoliths, all dripping with green ooze and sinister with latent horror.
You know what?
Hieroglyphics had covered the walls and pillars, and from some undetermined point below had come a voice that was not a voice,
Surprise for you.
a chaotic sensation which only fancy could transmute into sound. Oh, very tired.
I have a pile of documents that should interest you.
Understood.
But which he attempted to render by the most unpronounceable jumble of letters. Cthulhu. I cannot fucking pronounce that, but I'm gonna spell it out for you guys. F-H-T-A-G-N. Lauren, how would you pronounce the word F-H-T-A-G-N? F? Look. It's F-H-T-A-G-N. How would you pronounce that? No, do your best, try to say it. Just try, you try, we both try, you try. Fabtica. Where's the fucking B? I said H. Vatican. The Vatican! It's the Vatican! It's the fucking Pope! Do your best, try to say it, okay. Cthulhu. Fatagan. Fatagan. There we go.
Ah. And so who are you?
I didn't introduce myself. Edward Pierce, private detective.
In any case, it's not very important. I can't answer that.
You can't? Or you don't want to?
Oh, no.
This verbal jumble was the key to the recollection which excited and disturbed Professor Angle. He questioned the sculpture with scientific minuteness and studied with almost frantic intensity the bas-relief on which the youth had found himself working. Ooh, we got a trophy! Yay, high five!
It's a sign. There's something coming. Something real bad.
Don't put that beast back in the water, you shysters. You're crazy.
They're cops. They can't understand.
Youth found himself working, chilled and clad only in his night clothes, when waking had stolen bewittingly over him. My uncle blamed his old age. Wilcox afterwards said for his slowness in recognizing both hieroglyphics and pictorial design, many of his questions seemed highly out of place to his visitor, especially those of which tried to connect the latter with strange cults or societies, and Wilcox could not understand the repeated promises of silence which he was offered in exchange for an admission of membership to some widespread mystical or pageantly religious body. Fucking hell.
It's a very wordy book.
Fuck it, there's too many words. Yo, she's smoking the long-ass cigarette. Why do women, like, have sticks at the end of their cigarettes?
It was old-fashioned cigarette.
Yeah, but men don't have that, just the women.
You saw what happened. He's the troublemaker.
Oh, you're a true mainlander. A real princess. You strut around with your lodge
Bloody hell, God help me.
You start squealing. You don't have what it takes.
When Professor Angle became convinced that the sculptor was indeed ignorant of any cult or system of cryptic law, he besieged his visitor with demands for future report.
Answer or not.
Hang on, my bum crack vibrated.
I didn't expect to find alcohol on this island. What's the source of this miracle?
You mean who? Our source of supply wouldn't like me to betray them to the first comer.
I'll tell them.
He's so refined.
Anything else?
Because the men are too cowardly to have the long stick sig. Also, why would you read Lovecraft, who is known for long-worded? Oh, I've got to look at the fucking YouTube.
Never understood why.
Give me a second, Billy. I will read your comment.
Speak ill of the dead.
If you're not good, very good at I am very good at I'm very good at reading. I'm just not very good at speaking.
Anything else?
And also, I decided upon reading H.P. Lovecraft because I have a H.P. Lovecraft game, and I have 2 H.P. Lovecraft games, and I've got every single H.P. Lovecraft book.
When our whalers left for long months,
So yeah.
sweating and stinking of the oil and flesh of the whales they've been
I have the complete H.P. Lovecraft collection.
steeped.
Funnily enough, he only released 6 books.
Never known such wealth since then.
I thought he did too. I'm on the lookout for buying a Necronomicon, if anyone's selling. I want to raise Hitler from the dead to punch him in the balls.
On the mainland, her paintings. Never understood why. I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Right, I'm gonna go, let's just get a drink quickly, but I am gonna keep reading. So I'm gonna read while walking down the stairs.
The truth is really a question.
Wish me luck at not falling.
We used to
Alright,
discuss the truth.
we'll have a brief pause, people, because going down the stairs makes my mic cut out.
Her style made her famous. How would you describe it? Torture.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna jump no
For
more.
a young woman with a child.
Gory.
We saw
What a hell of a way to die.
Who can paint these things? Is that how she sees them?
So they made you feel uncomfortable.
You need to see them for yourself. Make up your own mind.
I've got what I need.
Anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Billy left.
You know where this place is? Warehouse 36, Darkwater Harbor.
The Hawkins warehouse. I see, yeah. If I were you, I wouldn't hang around there.
Why not?
First off, there are rumors.
Huh?
Sailors from around here say you can hear noises coming from the warehouse.
Why aren't I?
Screams, that sort of
Screams.
I need a new wig.
thing. All. There's the fate of its owners and all the superstitions that go with it. But I'll say no more. Anything else?
Captain Fitzroy told me about a little pick-me-up.
Oh yeah? That must have been before you came looking for a fight in my bar.
Oh, come on. Because of a little tussle.
Drinking it here is a privilege, and I grant the privilege to whoever I want. Anything else?
Find out about Sarah Hawkins, look.
What can you tell me?
We all knew she was famous on the mainland for her paintings. Never understood why. Then, I don't want to speak ill.
I've got what I need.
Anything else?
That'll be all for now.
Okay. Fucking hell, half an hour's passed already. I think my meds wearing off, so I can't focus.
miraculous occurred. Apparently, the most significant event of the last 80 years.
Yeah, I can't focus. Pause that a second. You can continue to play it.